there is a difference between being assertive in a healthy way and owning your space, owning your boundaries, and being aggressive. Okay? And in our conversation, we're going to kind of call aggression like bad, and assertive good. And there's a thing called, like, when somebody's aggressive, whether it's like verbally, they're cussing, or physically, or what, it's pretty obvious that they're trying to take power, right? They're trying to have their will over your will. And when somebody's, that's a smart thing.
I try, but sometimes, you know, when you got it, like, when you walking away and it's still, and then it's just like the cat, I just stop and I'm like, you know, let's do it.
Well, but that's okay. It doesn't always have to go to let's do it. It can stay that I over E. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't have to go to the emotional, like crazy out of control.
Well, at least I didn't put these down, so.
Yeah.
Well, Laura kind of uses a lot of breathing exercises too, I've noticed.
Smart. Those are things to keep your heart rate down. But guys, being assertive simply means being who God made you to be in a right and healthy way. Like the cat, owning your space. What right did my dog have to chase the cat? The cat had a right to be in that yard, right?
Well, I guess the dog looked at it like, man, that's his space.
Well,
Was he in your grass?
His don't.
And well, you know what? And the dog was thinking, because I can, I will. And so, passive aggressive means when you don't own your stuff. Like, you know, you say something like, you know, you look really good for being as fat as you are.
That's mean.
But you see how the lie is in there, and that's a real obvious one, but the lie in there is there's sort of a covered, like, you know, you look really good. But passive aggressive is from people when people are being unhealthy and they won't own their stuff, right? So, but being assertive and aggressive are different. Being aggressive involves overly emotional language, being overly aggressive. It means being E over I. Being calm assertive means you keep your emotions in check and your boundaries in place, but you're going to deal with the conflict. Aggressiveness involves using feelings to punish, and should be wound, not wound the other person. So you're going to punish them, and you're going to use your emotions just to hurt them, whereas assertiveness is about speaking the truth of your own feelings. You know, I feel, and this is on page 3. It's really, really important, and we're going to talk about this in a little bit. In a healthier relationship, one that you're working, it's really important to learn to be calm and assertive rather than angry and aggressive. And it really is the difference between living E over I and I over E, between being guided by, you know, raging emotions or calm truth.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
As I was explaining the situation with my mother,
Uh-huh.
when I get to her house, I still feel like that 10-year-old again.
Right.
Insecure, like, oh my gosh, I better watch what I say, and if she says something, her opinion matters, so I'm saying nothing. I still
Right.
feel that way. And that's like,
Isn't that funny? Isn't that funny how even as
That,
adults, we still adopt those roles that we had as kids? But a part of growing up and a part of becoming mature is to change to healthier roles. And we may still feel like the kid. My dad was the same way. My dad was retired and had nowhere to go. And we would come home from school, and we would drive 8 to 10 hours. We would be absolutely exhausted and running around seeing 3 different sets of families. And my dad would say, "What time are you going to be over here?" And if I said 3:30 and I got there at 3:32, he'd be mad. And so I finally realized I'm still in a little child role. And so one day my dad said, "What time are you going to be over?" I was absolutely exhausted, been about a week without sleep at school. And I said, "Dad, we'll be over there sometime before 4 to 5 o'clock. "Well, I need to know what time."
exactly.
"Dad, are you going someplace? Would you like me to reschedule my visit?" "No." "But Dad, I'll be over when I get over. Oh,
The roles reverse, because it's kind of, so I look at it kind of sort of as when our parents was telling us, like, you gotta be in at a certain time. Oh, no, we asked our parents, well, what time you be home? You know what I mean? And they like, I'll be there when I get there. And now it's like, you have to tell them, I'm coming, but I'll be there, you know, when I,
Well,
you know, the
and-
roles kind of sort
absolutely.
of.
Well,
vice
and what
versa.
they do sort of, Rakon, is they sort of get a little bit more equal. You know, we
Right.
still want to
True.
show honor and respect to our
Respect,
parents,
honor.
but the point is,
Absolutely.
we don't accept an unhealthy role. Debbie, are you 13 now? 12?
No.
Okay, so to accept that role as, you know, emotionally
I'd rather
inside.
deal with accepting the role than deal with the repercussions of the way she acts when I do not.
Okay,
Well,
well, tell
go
her
ahead.
you'll stop your visits. And so, I mean, it's a respectful way to, communicate with adults. I have an aunt that's like that. I've been kinda like down, scared to say anything to her, but now when I got older, and it's like, look, auntie, okay, you used to do that to me. I used to stop going to family functions just so I wouldn't have to deal with her, but now it's like, okay, that's your feelings, I'm sorry. You know, and it's not, she can't talk, and I do it respectfully, you're not gonna talk to me like that anymore.
And
You
that's
know, if you want me to
establishing,
respect you, you
that's
respect me.
establishing a boundary. And it's not over functioning and trying to hurt or dominate or wound
No,
her,
I'm
it's
not.
just,
Letting her know that I am an adult now,
Right,
and
yeah.
you're not going to, I'm not gonna have that anymore.
and guys, sometimes we're looking to other people to kind of redefine those boundaries or redefine those roles. But the truth is, we have to do that. We have to do that with Jesus. So, you know, in that case, and we'll talk more about it the next couple of weeks, but you're not a child anymore. We're always our parents' kids, but we're not a child, so we have to redefine what that role is, and then what's healthy in that role, and be assertive, but not aggressive. So, a couple other things, you know, assertiveness helps you to seek truth. What's the real truth here? And it helps you to reflect on the truth. It helps discover things. Whereas aggression makes you defensive and you want to just get back at people, you know? And it's a completely different dynamic. So aggression closes communication and it builds walls. But assertiveness, man, being calm, assertive, as Jesus was, he's basically saying, you know, this is who I am, this is how I feel, and here's what I see. And honestly, those three little statements are huge in terms of you communicating with the people that matter to you, the people who you have a personal, emotional relationship with, family and others. When there's a conflict, to be able to define, look, this is who I am. Somebody wants you to use drugs. No, I'm not living as an addict anymore. This is who I am. I'm now a follower of Jesus. Well, you're no better than I am. I didn't say that I was better in myself than you are. I said I'm a follower of Jesus. This is how I feel. When you try to get me to use, it really makes me feel. What? What emotion might you put in there in that imaginary situation? It really makes me feel
Vulnerable.
Yeah.
Not really.
I had friends when I was young, you know.
Pressured.
They were
It makes you feel pressured.
pressured.
Mhm.
It makes me feel like you really don't care and you just want what you want. You don't really care what I want, you know. And then the third question, here's what I see, you know. What do you think? Because guys, what you think matters.
Exactly.
There have been people in your life who really didn't care what you think. And here's the truth, what you think doesn't rule the world, that's over-functioning. And also, what you think shouldn't be ignored, that's under-functioning. In a healthy relationship, you want to know what the other person thinks, and you want to share what you think. Because that's how you know somebody, that's how you delight in somebody. That's why forever and ever and ever with God, we're not just going to be sitting around on little fluffy clouds with little chubby babies. You know?
Cherubs.
we're gonna be having a relationship with Father, and we're gonna be hearing what He thinks, we're gonna be sharing what we think, and there's no end to that, you know? So, this is who I am, this is how I feel, here's what I see. And a great question when you're in conflict, and this is kind of the hitting the brakes before things kind of go nuclear. Help me understand. Instead of saying you always, or you never, or you this, and making accusations, start with an I statement. I feel, or this statement is a genius one. Mandy, this is a Ron Willoughby statement. You know, help me understand. And because people with healthy boundaries are not so insecure that they don't want to understand.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So if you do all those things, because I've had a situation, but I still had to be aggressive, and now I'm in this situation.
Tell me what aggressive was, Angie. What?
Oh, it was evilness coming out of me.
Okay.
The neighbors probably heard me.
Okay.
But I did all those things. Help me understand, this is the way I'm understanding it. But and I'm, in the end, I'm now considered the bad guy.
Well, again,
Because I stood up for myself and my family.
but was that going being aggressive or being assertive?
Well, I did both.
Okay. All right. So where do you think you crossed the line in that into darkness?
When I just couldn't handle it no more, and I blew my top.
It's like that plunger with the dynamite.
Oh, yeah, it was, the people in my house were scared.
So if you were playing that whole situation out again, Angie, and you were going to do the whole thing again, how would you do it differently?
I don't know,
Okay.
because the situation was brought to me, like, when the job was done.
Would you mind if we did something next time? You don't have to, you don't want to, but would you mind next time we kind of start? Yeah, we start with that, maybe we role play, and you kind of tell us what the situation was,
Yeah,
and then maybe together we can kind of see, because it's always easier to see somebody else's stuff than your own.
yes.
You ever notice that?
Yeah, there's still communication, but it's not what it was before
Beforehand,
that
okay.
situation.
And that's another reason why community is so important. It's always easy to see answers for other people. Seeing answers for yourself is like hard. But that's why God puts us in family. And we have families that are genetic, but we have families that actually are more important. We have spiritual families. And we are family forever. We are eternal friends, and we are eternal brothers and sisters. That never ends. So next time we will start, and you can you'll remind me, and we'll start with that scenario, and you're going to tell us kind of what you did, and then we're going to look at it, and we're going to try to find different paths. How could we have resolved that conflict with you? Okay?
That's cool.
Well, guys, you need to give yourselves a great hand. Nobody fell asleep. Nobody threw anything. You guys did great.